The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and betrayal as I stood before the spring that had defined my family's land for over a century, its crystal waters now trembling under the shadow of destruction. My name is Thomas, and this spring, framed by my grandfather's hand-laid stone paths and shaded by 40-foot willows he planted, was more than water. It was the heartbeat of our property, a lifeline that cooled the blistering summers, nourished wildlife, and anchored the groundwater that kept Ridgeview Heights stable. My grandfather taught me to skip stones across its surface when I was 5, his laughter echoing as he spoke of its ancient role in the watershed. Now that legacy teetered on the edge of annihilation, threatened by a decree that churned my stomach and set my hands trembling. My wife Emily had slammed the notice onto our kitchen table just hours ago, her voice a raw mix of fury and fear. "They can't steal your spring, Thomas." The words still rang in my ears, each syllable a jolt to my racing heart. The Ridgeview Heights Homeowners Association, led by the cold, calculating Eleanor Price, had branded our spring a flood hazard, a swampy mess that dragged down property values. Eleanor, who'd only moved in 6 months ago, had scoffed at its beauty during her first neighborhood tour, her eyes glinting with ambition I hadn't yet understood. Her emergency notice demanded I drain the spring within 30 days or face $500 daily fines, a financial guillotine poised to sever my family's heritage. My neighbor Clara, who once borrowed flour and brought her grandkids to feed ducks at the spring, had already turned traitor, her loyalty bought by Eleanor's promises. Even Derek, the HOA's maintenance manager, seemed complicit, his late-night measurements near the spring reeking of conspiracy. I couldn't shake the memory of Eleanor's smirk at a barbecue, her whispered talk of maximizing land potential with a developer friend, a plot I now feared aimed to erase my spring for profit. My hydrologist friend Ethan had warned me days ago, his voice grim over coffee. "That spring is a pressure valve for the aquifer, Thomas. Drain it, and the whole neighborhood could drown." His words haunted me as I stared at the water, its surface rippling under a darkening sky, as if it sensed the machines that would soon come to choke it. Somewhere Mr. Larson, the retired lawyer down the street, was digging through legal books, promising to help, but time was slipping away. Mrs. Ellison, a 60-year resident who remembered the spring saving us during the 1978 drought, had urged me to fight, her frail voice fierce. "That water's our soul." Yet the Thompsons, Garcias and Parkers, neighbors I'd shared beers with, were wavering, seduced by Eleanor's lies about safety and wealth. My chest tightened as I imagined the spring reduced to a muddy crater, its lily pads wilted, its ducks lost. This wasn't just a land grab. It was a betrayal of nature, of memory, of everything I'd sworn to protect. As thunder rumbled in the distance, I clenched my fists, resolve hardening like the stones beneath my feet. Eleanor thought she could bury the spring, but she'd awaken something fiercer. A fight for justice that would shake Ridgeview to its core. The spring's gentle ripples, a century-old symphony of life that had sustained my family's land through scorching summers and nourished the deer and ducks of Ridgeview Heights, now seemed to quiver with dread under the weight of a sinister plot. I, Thomas, stood frozen in my kitchen, the HOA's notice trembling in my hands as Emily's words from last night echoed like a war cry. "They can't steal your spring." But they were trying. Eleanor Price, the steely-eyed president of the Ridgeview Heights Homeowners Association, had unleashed a decree that branded our spring, a cornerstone of my grandfather's legacy, framed by his stone paths and shaded by his towering willows, a flood hazard. Her words from 6 months ago, when she'd sneered at the spring as a swampy mess, dragging down property values, now revealed their true venom. She'd been plotting since her arrival, her ambition masked by a slick smile and a hefty, dubious geological survey that claimed the spring threatened $1 million flood damage. The notice demanded I drain it within 30 days or face $500 daily fines, a financial noose tightening around my family's heritage. My stomach churned as I pictured the spring's crystal waters, where I'd skipped stones at 5, reduced to a barren pit. This wasn't just water. It was the aquifer's pressure valve, the neighborhood's lifeline, as Ethan, my hydrologist friend, had warned. "Drain it, and basements will drown." Yet Eleanor's campaign was relentless, her emergency HOA meeting a stage for her monarchy. Flanked by her loyal board including Clara, once a friend who'd fed ducks with her grandkids at the spring but now avoided my gaze, she waved her survey like a scepter. "The spring endangers our foundations," she declared. her voice dripping with false concern. I stood, legs shaky but voice firm, clutching photos of the spring's vibrant seasons and a petition signed by 12 neighbors, including Mrs. Ellison, who'd whispered its drought-saving history. "This spring predates these houses," I countered. "There's never been a flood." Eleanor's eyes narrowed, her rebuttal slick. "Water tables shift. We can't risk our children's safety for nostalgia." Children. The nearest kids live 3 blocks away. Whispers buzzed. Some neighbors nodded with me. Others fretted about mortgages. Clara's betrayal cut deeper when she chimed in. Standing water breeds disease. Her grandkids had loved the spring. Yet she'd sold her loyalty for Eleanor's promise of a garage addition. The room pulsed with tension as I demanded to see the survey's origins. Who conducted it? When were they here? Eleanor's smile tightened, her dodge chilling. "It's confidential." Mr. Larson, the retired lawyer down the street, called her bluff. "That's not how assessments work." Her face reddened, but 7 bored hands shot up, passing the motion like a guillotine's fall. In the parking lot, Clara's nervous glance confirmed my fears. "Eleanor promised favors," she muttered. My heart sank. Eleanor was buying votes, her barbecue whispers about land potential, with the developer now screaming of a land grab. That night, sleepless, I jolted awake at 2 a.m. to the growl of trucks. Flashlight in hand, I raced outside in pajamas to find Derek, the HOA's maintenance manager, with men and equipment near the spring. "Just measurements," he claimed, but Eleanor emerged, clipboard gleaming, her smirk venomous. "HOA safety inspections have 24-hour rights. This is my land." I roared, standing firm until they retreated. But they'd be back. The spring's fate hung by a thread, its waters reflecting a storm gathering overhead. I vowed to fight for my grandfather's willows, for the ducks, for the truth Ethan's maps promised. Destabilize the spring and Ridgeview would pay. Eleanor thought she'd won. But she'd ignited a battle that would expose her lies and shake this neighborhood to its core. The spring's crystal waters, the lifeblood of my family's land for a century, shimmered under a moonless sky, as if pleading for salvation from the conspiracy tightening its grip. I, Thomas, stood in the aftermath of the HOA's emergency meeting, my heart pounding with the sting of Clara's betrayal and the echo of Eleanor Price's chilling words. "We can't risk our children's safety for nostalgia." Her polished lies, delivered with a monarch's poise, had swayed the Ridgeview Heights Homeowners Association, branding my grandfather's spring a vital aquifer valve that cooled summers and sustained wildlife, a flood hazard. The notice, still crumpled in my pocket, demanded I drain it within 30 days or face $500 daily fines, a threat that felt like a blade against my family's legacy. Emily's furious cry, "They can't steal your spring," fueled my resolve, but the meeting's fallout revealed a darker truth. This wasn't about floods. It was a calculated land grab orchestrated by Eleanor, whose ambition I'd glimpsed at a barbecue months ago. Her whispered talk of maximizing land potential, with a developer friend now roaring in my mind. Sleepless, I paced our kitchen, the spring stone paths and towering willows haunting my thoughts. Ethan, my hydrologist friend, had warned that draining the spring could unleash catastrophic flooding, yet Eleanor's hefty geological survey, waved like a weapon, claimed otherwise. Her refusal to disclose its origins, met with Mr. Larson's sharp rebuke. "That's not how assessments work," had cracked her facade, but 7 bored hands had still sealed the spring's fate. Clara's muttered confession in the parking lot, "Eleanor promised favors," confirmed my fears. Eleanor was buying votes, her promises of garage additions and rose gardens turning neighbors like Clara, who once fed ducks at the spring, into pawns. My blood boiled as I recalled Eleanor's smirk during that 2 a.m. confrontation, when I'd caught Derek, the HOA's maintenance manager, with trucks near the spring. "Safety inspections," she'd sneered, her clipboard a shield for her schemes. Digging deeper, I uncovered a bombshell that turned my dread to fury. At the county records office, buried in dusty files, I found Eleanor's surveyor was her cousin, his license revoked for falsified reports. The survey was a sham, a linchpin in her plan to erase the spring and sell the destabilized land to her developer ally. Ethan's maps, spread across my desk, revealed the spring as a critical pressure valve in an ancient watershed. Draining it could flood basements and collapse property values, priming the area for cheap buyouts. Eleanor's barbecue boasts, overheard as she clinked glasses with her developer friend, now painted a chilling picture. She'd profit millions while Ridgeview drowned. My hands shook as I launched a website, posting the spring's history, the fake survey, and Ethan's data. My fingers racing against the ticking clock of the 30-day deadline. Neighbors like Mrs. Ellison, who'd seen the spring save us in the 1978 drought, messaged support, but others, like the Thompsons and Garcias, wavered, seduced by Eleanor's promises of rising property values. An anonymous call at midnight, dripping with Eleanor's venom. Drop the website or regret it, sent a chill down my spine. At dawn, the roar of machinery shattered the silence. Peering out, I saw industrial pumps lining my property, Eleanor supervising with sunglasses hiding her eyes, Derek guiding workers. My heart thundered as I sprinted outside, Emily filming beside me. "This is illegal," I roared, but Eleanor waved papers, citing an emergency order. The spring, my grandfather's pride, was becoming a muddy crater, its lily pads wilting, ducks scattering. This was war, Eleanor's greed against the spring's resilience. I vowed to expose her. For the willows, for the truth, for the neighborhood teetering on the edge of her betrayal. The spring's ancient waters, shimmering under a sky bruised with storm clouds, seemed to whisper defiance as I, Thomas, stood on the precipice of a battle that could save or doom my grandfather's century-old legacy. The willows he planted swayed like sentinels, guarding the stone paths where I'd learned to skip stones, but Eleanor Price's sinister plot, a land grab masked as flood prevention, threatened to reduce it all to a muddy grave. Her fake survey, penned by her disgraced cousin, and her whispered plans with a developer to profit from Ridgeview Heights' destabilized land, uncovered in the county records, burned in my mind like a fuse. Emily's voice, raw with fury, "They can't steal your spring," echoed as I faced the HOA's 30-day ultimatum and $500 daily fines, a financial guillotine poised to sever my family's heart. The memory of Eleanor's venomous midnight call, "Drop the website or regret it," sent shivers down my spine, but the roar of industrial pumps at dawn, draining my spring under her sunglasses' shielded gaze, had ignited a fire in my chest. I wouldn't let her win. Armed with Ethan's watershed maps, proving the spring's role as an aquifer valve, and the petition signed by 12 neighbors including Mrs. Ellison, whose tales of the 1978 drought underscored its vital history, I launched a desperate counterattack. My website, a beacon of truth, blazed with the spring's legacy, the falsified survey, and Ethan's data warning of catastrophic flooding if the spring died. Each click felt like a defiance of Eleanor's grip, but time was a relentless enemy. Clara's betrayal at the HOA meeting, her voice parroting Eleanor's lies about mosquitoes for a promised garage, stung like a fresh wound, yet whispers from neighbors like the Thompsons and Garcias hinted at doubt. Mr. Larson, the retired lawyer, pored over legal codes, his gruff voice urging, "Keep pushing, Thomas." I scoured records deeper, uncovering Eleanor's cousin's revoked license and her $2 million payout to a drainage firm, her own kin's company. My heart raced as I requested another HOA meeting, only for Eleanor to deny it, her curt email claiming no new evidence. Undeterred, I flooded our neighborhood's social media with posts, each one a plea to save the spring that cooled our summers and fed our groundwater. Comments poured in, Mrs. Ellison's memory of the spring's drought-saving grace, a Garcia kid's photo of ducks there, stirring a tide of nostalgia and rage. Private messages from board members, admitting Eleanor's pressure to vote yes, fueled my hope, but her cease and desist letters, alleging defamation, loomed like storm clouds. Truth isn't slander, I told myself, posting Ethan's map showing the spring's role in an ancient watershed. Then a 3 a.m. jolt. Headlights near the spring. Flashlight in hand, I raced out, Emily filming, to find Derek, the HOA maintenance manager, with workers tampering with the pumps. "Board orders," he muttered, but Eleanor's silhouette, clipboard in hand, betrayed her. "This is my land," I roared, my voice cracking with desperation. She smirked, waving her emergency order, but I stood firm, heart thundering, until they retreated. By morning, my website's views surged, neighbors like the Parkers questioning Eleanor's haste. An anonymous tip, Eleanor's voice unmistakable, warned of consequences. As the spring's waters dwindled, lily pads wilting and ducks wandering lost, I felt the weight of every stone my grandfather laid. Ethan's warning rang louder. The aquifer's collapsing. This was no longer just my fight. It was Ridgeview's survival. Eleanor's greed had awakened a sleeping community, And with every post, every neighbor's nod, I sensed a reckoning. The spring, my family's soul, was rallying us against her lies, and I'd fight until her empire of fraud crumbled, or the waters themselves rose to drown her schemes. The spring's once sparkling waters, my grandfather's century-old legacy that had cooled Ridgeview Heights and cradled its wildlife, now churned into a muddy abyss under the merciless hum of industrial pumps. I, Thomas, stood trembling with rage and grief, Emily's camera shaking in her hands as we faced Eleanor Price's dawn assault. Her sunglasses hid her eyes, but her smirk betrayed her triumph as she waved an emergency order, claiming HOA authority to drain the spring she branded a flood hazard. My website, ablaze with Ethan's watershed maps, the fake survey by her disgraced cousin, and Mrs. Ellison's tales of the 1978 drought, had rallied neighbors, yet Eleanor's greed outpaced our resistance. The 30-day ultimatum and $500 daily fines from her sham decree, exposed as a land grab for her developer ally, still loomed, but this was war. Stop! This is illegal! I roared, my voice cracking as lily pads wilted and ducks fled. Their home a crater. Eleanor's papers cited a judge's signature, but Ethan's warning screamed louder. The spring's an aquifer valve. Drain it and Ridgeview drowns. Derek, the HOA's maintenance manager, guided workers avoiding my gaze while Clara, now planting roses nearby, muttered about property values. Her betrayal, bought by Eleanor's garage promise, cut deep, but the spring's death was a wound to us all. Emily's footage captured the devastation, my heart splintering as the willows drooped, their roots starved. I called 911, but the operator dismissed it as a civil matter, leaving us defenseless. By noon the spring was gone, a barren pit where my grandfather's stones lay exposed like bones. I posted Ethan's data online, warning of aquifer collapse, and comments erupted. Neighbors like the Thompsons and Garcias reporting soggy lawns. Mr. Larson, the retired lawyer, vowed to file complaints, but the ground was already betraying us. That night rain fell and the aquifer, unmoored without its valve, rebelled. The Thompsons' basement took 3 inches of water, their insurance citing groundwater intrusion uncovered. The Garcias and Parkers followed, their sump pumps whining. Clara's roses drowned, her face pale as she whispered. Eleanor said city water's fine. My chest tightened, her ignorance was our ruin. Ethan, grim-faced, monitored soil moisture. Pressure skyrocketing. This is catastrophic. I updated my website, Ethan's chart screaming the truth, and neighbors' fury grew. My foundation's cracking, a Parker posted. $50,000 for repairs. 3 homes listed for sale, their values plummeting as Eleanor's lies unraveled. Her barbecue boasts of cheap land buyouts now felt like a curse fulfilled. A 2 a.m. call, Eleanor's voice venomous. You'll pay for this, Thomas. Only steeled my resolve. I filed a state complaint, my hands shaking as I detailed the fake survey, illegal drainage, and tampered meters Mr. Larson uncovered. News outlets swarmed, headlines blaring HOA's spring drain disaster. Eleanor deflected, blaming weather and city pipes, but neighbors weren't fooled. Private messages from board members, confessing her bribes, poured in. Mrs. Ellison's comment, "That spring saved us in '78, sparked memories and the tide turned. As Clara's garden became a bog, she faced me, eyes wet. I'm sorry, Thomas. But apologies couldn't revive the ducks or my grandfather's willows. Emily's video, barely audible, caught Eleanor whispering to Derek, "When values crash, my pals buy cheap." The revelation hit like lightning. Her fraud was bleeding Ridgeview dry. Investigators descended, subpoenaing HOA records, and whispers of Eleanor's resignation fueled hope. Yet the spring's crater haunted me, a scar on the land I'd sworn to protect. This wasn't just my fight anymore. It was a community's reckoning. The aquifer's wrath was our warning, and with every flooded basement, every neighbor's cry, I vowed to bury Eleanor's empire of greed. The spring's ghost demanded justice, and I'd fight until its waters flowed again or her lies drowned her. The spring's desolate crater, once a century-old lifeline that nourished Ridgeview Heights wildlife and steadied its aquifer, now stood as a grim testament to Eleanor Price's greed, its muddy scar fueling a fire in my soul. I, Thomas, watched helplessly as the neighborhood drowned in the aftermath of her illegal drainage, the industrial pump's hum still echoing in my ears from that dawn when Emily's camera captured the spring's death. Flooded basements, first the Thompsons, then the Garcias, Parkers and even Clara's, her roses submerged, confirmed Ethan's dire warning. The aquifers collapsing. My website, blazing with the Springs history, the fake survey by Eleanor's disgraced cousin, and Ethan's data, had sparked outrage, but the state complaint I'd filed, detailing her fraud and tampered meters, felt like a lone arrow against her empire. Eleanor's 2 a.m. threat, "You'll pay, Thomas," and her whispered boast to Derek, caught on Emily's video. "When values crash, my pals buy cheap," haunted me, her developer scheme bleeding Ridgeview dry. Yet, as rain-soaked days passed, a pulse of defiance stirred. Neighbors, once swayed by Eleanor's lies about flood risks and property values, now faced ruined homes, their insurance claims denied for man-made groundwater intrusion. My heart raced as I refreshed my website, posts flooding in like the waters we couldn't stop. Mrs. Ellison, her voice trembling with 60 years' wisdom, wrote, "That spring saved us in '78. It's our soul." Her words lit a fuse, memories pouring from the Garcias kids, who'd fed ducks there, and the Parkers recalling summer evenings cooled by its breeze. Mr. Larson, the retired lawyer, uncovered Eleanor's cousin's $2 million drainage contract, posting it online with a scathing note. "This is theft." Comments exploded. "My sump pump's dying. $50,000 for foundation cracks." As 3 more homes listed for sale, their values gutted. Clara, eyes red from her drowned garden, messaged privately, "I was wrong, Thomas. Elena litt." Her regret mirrored the neighborhood's awakening. But the Springs ghost demanded more than apologies. News vans swarmed their headlines, "HOA's spring drain disaster," amplifying our cries. Eleanor, cornered, blamed city pipes and freak weather, her slick denials crumbling as board members, pressured by her bribes, confessed anonymously. A 4 a.m. jolt, tires screeching outside, sent me bolting upright, Emily clutching my arm. A brick through our window, scrawled with "Shut it down," reeked of Eleanor's venom, but I posted it online, captioned, "This is her fear." The community roared back, a Thompson sharing Ethan's charts, a Garcia demanding a public meeting. Mrs. Ellison organized a vigil at the Springs crater, neighbors holding candles as ducks wandered, lost. "We trusted her," a Parker wept, his basement uninhabitable. My chest tightened as I spoke, voice raw. "This spring was our heart. Eleanor sold it for profit." Emily's video, looping Eleanor's developer whisper, went viral, comments raging. "Arrest her." State investigators descended, their subpoenas slicing through HOA records like a blade. Eleanor's resignation slipped quietly to the board, only fanned the flames. The school auditorium brimmed with furious homeowners, waving repair bills, their boos drowning Eleanor's final deflection. Mr. Larson's evidence, her cousin's firm, her embezzled $800,000 in maintenance fees, sealed her fate. As investigators loomed, I stood by the crater, the willow's drooping branches a silent plea. This wasn't just my fight, it was Ridgeview's rebirth. The Springs' destruction had shattered trust, but its memory united us, each neighbor's voice a stone in the wall against Eleanor's lies. Her empire teetered, and with every candle lit, every post shared, I felt the tide turning. The Springs' legacy, my grandfather's pride, was rallying a community to reclaim its soul, and we'd fight until Eleanor's fraud was buried or the waters rose to judge her. The Springs' barren crater, a wound where my grandfather's century-old legacy once sparkled, pulsed with the fury of a community awakened to Eleanor Price's betrayal. I, Thomas, stood in the school auditorium, the air thick with rage as Ridgeview Heights homeowners waved repair bills, their voices a thunderous rebuke to the woman who drained our spring for profit. The vigil at the Springs remains, lit by Mrs. Ellison's candles and fueled by memories of its 1978 drought-saving grace, had galvanized us. Each post on my website, Ethan's aquifer charts, the fake survey by Eleanor's cousin, Mr. Larson's $2 million drainage contract bombshell, stoking a fire that her lies could no longer contain. Emily's video capturing Eleanor's damning whisper to Derek, "When values crash, my pals buy cheap," had gone viral, its echo in the auditorium drowning her denials. The state investigators, summoned by my complaint detailing her fraud and tampered meters, swarmed the HOA's records, their subpoenas a blade at Eleanor's throat. Her quiet resignation, slipped to the board like a coward's retreat, only inflamed us further. Clara, her roses drowned and her guilt raw, stood beside me whispering. I testified about her bribes. My heart pounded. Her redemption was our strength. The community's awakening, sparked by flooded basements and the Thompsons, Garcias, and Parker's ruined homes, had shattered Eleanor's grip. Yet, as I faced her in that packed auditorium, her sunglasses gone, her eyes darting like a cornered animal, I felt the weight of the spring's loss. You sold our soul, a Garcia shouted, his foundation cracked, his voice breaking. Eleanor's defense, claiming community benefit, crumbled as Mr. Larson unveiled her embezzlement. $800,000 siphoned through maintenance fees. Harold, the treasurer, pale and shaking, confessed to her cash handouts, his ledger a map of her corruption. My testimony detailing the fake survey, illegal drainage, and her cousin's revoked license, felt like wielding my grandfather's stones. Emily's footage, projected on a screen, replayed Eleanor's developer plot, the crowd roaring for her arrest. A 2 a.m. memory flashed, her venomous call, "You'll pay, Thomas." Now a hollow threat as investigators cuffed her for fraud, conspiracy, and fund misuse. Her cousin's drainage firm collapsed, its $2 million contract of fraud exposed. The trial was a whirlwind, her mansion's marble halls swapped for a courtroom's glare. Clara's account of bribes, Harold's ledgers, and my records painted a guillotine of evidence. Guilty on all counts, Eleanor received 15 years, her assets seized to fund the spring's restoration. The crowd outside the courthouse cheered, but my chest tightened. The spring's crater remained, its ducks gone, its willows drooping. Mrs. Ellison, gripping my arm, whispered, "Justice, Thomas," but the water's still silent. Engineers toiled, their plans faltering against the aquifer's wrath, federal funds and Eleanor's wealth barely denting the cost. Neighbors like the Parkers, their homes unsellable, faced losses, yet the Garcias brought sandwiches, the Thompsons cleared debris, a fragile unity born from ruin. Eleanor's mansion, once her throne, stood empty, soon to be an environmental center, her emails a cautionary exhibit. As I walked the crater's edge, Ethan's warning lingered. The aquifer's unstable. The spring's ghost haunted every flooded basement, every neighbor's weary eyes. This victory was bittersweet. Eleanor's empire of greed lay in ruins, her developer dreams fizzled, but the land bore scars. My website, now a chronicle of our fight, drew thousands, comments pleading for the spring's return. Clara, stepping forward as interim HOA leader, vowed transparency, her voice steady. We rebuild with truth. The auditorium's roar, the cuffs on Eleanor's wrists, the community's grit, they were our defiance. The spring, my family's heart, had sparked a reckoning, its memory a beacon against corruption. As I traced my grandfather's stones, I swore to fight until the waters flowed or Eleanor's sins drowned her legacy forever. The spring's muddy crater, a haunting scar where my grandfather's century-old legacy once shimmered, pulsed with fragile hope as Ridgeview Heights rallied to heal the wound Eleanor Price's greed had carved. I, Thomas, stood amidst the debris, the echo of her 15-year sentence, guilty of fraud, conspiracy, and embezzling $800,000, still ringing from the courthouse, yet the spring's silence weighed heavier than her cuffs. Her empire had crumbled, her cousin's drainage firm exposed, her assets seized to fund restoration, but the aquifer's wrath, unleashed by her illegal pumps, defied engineers' early efforts. Flooded basements lingered, the Thompsons, Garcias, Parkers, their losses a bitter reminder of the crater where ducks once swam. Emily's video, exposing Eleanor's developer whisper, "When values crash, my pals buy cheap," had fueled our victory, yet Mrs. Ellison's words at the trial, "Justice but the water's silent," haunted me. My website, a chronicle of Ethan's aquifer data, the fake survey and Clara's bribe confession, now buzzed with neighbors pleased to revive the spring that saved us in 1978. The air crackled with urgency as excavation revealed ancient native channels, their stone veins a blueprint for rebirth. My heart raced. Could we restore what Eleanor destroyed? Clara, now interim HOA president, her garden reborn with eco-friendly irrigation, stood firm. We rebuild with truth. Her redemption drove us, but the clock ticked against unstable soils. Engineers, blending native wisdom with modern techniques, toiled under global scrutiny, their drills humming like a pulse. The Garcias hauled debris, the Parkers served sandwiches, their unity a defiance of the losses some faced. Homes sold at a loss, trust fractured. Ethan, eyes grim, monitored groundwater. It's stabilizing, but one misstep could flood us again. A midnight scare, cracking earth near the crater, sent me sprinting with a flashlight, Emily at my side fearing another collapse. Neighbors joined, their faces etched with resolve, shoring up the site with sandbags. The spring's ghost demanded we fight. Federal funds and Eleanor's seized wealth stretched thin. But Clara's new bylaws, mandating environmental reviews, shielded our work. Eleanor's mansion, once her throne, transformed into an environmental education center. Her emails a stark exhibit of greed. My website drew thousands, schools booking tours to see the spring's revival. As pipes channeled water back, a faint trickle sparked cheers, but my chest tightened. Would it last? The reopening day dawned, hundreds gathering as kids raced to the spring, its waters sparkling once more. Clara unveiled a plaque. Protected forever. My voice broke as I gave tours, tracing my grandfather's stones. This spring binds us to nature. The crowd roared, ducks returning, willows standing tall. Ridgeview's property values soared, eco-conscious buyers flocking. Our story a global model. Yet some wounds lingered. The Thompsons' unsellable home, the Garcias repair bills. A late-night call, anonymous but venomous. You'll never erase me, reeked of Eleanor's shadow, chilling my spine. Ethan's data confirmed stability, but I scanned the horizon, wary. Clara, now permanent HOA leader, led a festival, murals and herbs celebrating our aquifer. Mrs. Ellison, frail but fierce, gripped my hand. You saved our soul, Thomas. My eyes stung, picturing my grandfather skipping stones. The spring's rebirth was our triumph, but its scars taught us vigilance. Mr. Larson, archiving our fight, warned, greed always lurks. The spring, my family's heart, had forged a community unyielding to corruption. Its waters a mirror of resilience. As fireflies danced, I stood with Clara, her laugh soft. We thought nature was the enemy. I nodded, the spring's ripple a vow. We'd guard it forever. Its flow a testament to justice over Eleanor's ruins. The land had spoken and we'd answered, but I clutched Emily's hand, knowing our fight against floods, against greed, would never truly end. The spring's reborn waters sparkled like a resurrected heart, its ripples reflecting a Ridgeview Heights transformed by the battle to save my grandfather's century-old legacy. I, Thomas, stood by the restored spring, its willows tall and ducks returned, the memory of Eleanor Price's 15-year sentence for fraud and embezzlement a fading shadow against Clara's festival, where murals and herbs celebrated our aquifer. The restoration, blending ancient native channels with modern engineering, had drawn global eyes, but the scars of flooded basements, the Thompsons, Garcias, Parkers, and Eleanor's venomous call, "You'll never erase me," kept my pulse racing. Clara, now permanent HOA president, her garden thriving on eco-friendly irrigation, had cemented bylaws mandating transparency and environmental reviews, her voice steady. We guard this spring forever. Yet, as kids splashed and Mrs. Ellison beamed, recounting the spring's 1978 drought-saving grace, a chill lingered. Could greed like Eleanor's rise again? My website, once a war cry with Ethan's aquifer data and the fake survey's exposure, now chronicled our triumph, drawing eco-conscious buyers who sent property values soaring. Eleanor's mansion, reborn as an environmental education center, displayed her emails as a cautionary tale, students flocking to learn from our fight. Emily's hand in mine grounded me, her video of Eleanor's developer whisper still fueling our vigilance. The spring's protected status etched on Clara's plaque felt like my grandfather's stones reborn, but Mr. Larson's warning, "Greed always lurks," echoed as I scanned the horizon. At the festival, the Garcias' laughter mixed with the Parkers' quiet grief. Their home unsellable, repair bills unpaid. A late-night tremor, rumors of a developer eyeing nearby land, sent me bolting upright, flashlight ready, Ethan's words ringing. The aquifer stable but never complacent. Clara called an emergency meeting, her eyes fierce. We're a beacon now, but we stay sharp. Neighbors nodded, their unity forged in the crucible of Eleanor's ruin. The spring's waters, shimmering under fireflies, mirrored our resilience, but the Thompsons' absence, their trust broken, stung. My tours, tracing the spring's stone paths, drew gasps. This binds us to nature, I said, voice thick with pride and fear. Global media hailed Ridgeview as a sustainability model, schools visiting weekly, yet a cryptic note slipped under my door. Watch your back. reeked of Eleanor's shadow, my heart thundering. Clara's new HOA, transparent and green, repelled such threats, but I clutched Emily tighter, knowing our fight wasn't over. Mrs. Ellison, frail but defiant, whispered, "You gave us our soul back, Thomas." As I knelt by the spring, its ripple a vow, I saw my grandfather's face, his willows whispering strength. Ridgeview had risen from Eleanor's ashes, its eco-conscious buyers and soaring values a testament to our stand. The education center, buzzing with students, turned her greed into lessons. Yet, the spring's protected waters, now a state-lauded blueprint, demanded eternal guard. Clara and I stood, fireflies dancing, her laugh soft. We learned nature's our ally. The spring, my family's heart, had birthed a community unyielding to corruption. But as stars gleamed, I swore to watch, to fight, to ensure its waters never stilled again. The spring's shimmering waters, reborn as the heart of Ridgeview Heights, danced under a twilight sky, their ripples a testament to a community forged in the fire of Eleanor Price's greed. I, Thomas, stood by the restored spring, its willows whispering my grandfather's legacy, the festival's murals and Clara's eco-friendly garden vibrant in the fading light. Clara's leadership, her bylaws enshrining transparency, had transformed our neighborhood into a beacon of sustainability, its soaring property values and the Environmental Education Center, once Eleanor's mansion, drawing global praise. Yet, as kids laughed and ducks glided, a cryptic note from days ago, "Watch your back," lingered like a shadow, my pulse quickening at the thought of greed's return. The spring's protected status, etched in stone, felt like my grandfather's stones reborn, but Mr. Larson's warning, "Greed always lurks," kept me vigilant. My website, once a battleground exposing Eleanor's fake survey and developer plot, now stood as a monument to our fight, its lessons searing. Nature's resilience, greed's ruin, and unity's power. Mrs. Ellison, her frail hand on mine, whispered, "This spring taught us everything's connected." Her eyes fierce with 1978 drought memories. My heart swelled, but the Thompsons' absence, their home lost to Eleanor's floods, stung, a reminder of trust broken. Emily's grip tightened, her video of Eleanor's damning whisper a spark that had ignited our stand. The spring's rebirth showed nature's strength, its aquifer defying Eleanor's pumps, but Ethan's words echoed, "Ignore nature and problems cascade." A midnight tremor, rumors of a new developer circling, sent me to the spring, flashlight in hand, the waters ripple a vow to fight. Clara's emergency meeting, her voice iron, rallied neighbors. "We're stewards now." The Garcias and Parkers nodded, their scars, cracked foundations, unpaid bills, fueling resolve. The spring's lesson was clear. Greed, like Eleanor's, festers, but unity prevails. Her 15-year sentence, her $800,000 embezzlement exposed, proved justice finds a way. Yet the crater's memory haunted me. My tours, tracing the stone paths, drew gasps. "This spring's our heart," I said, voice thick, picturing my grandfather skipping stones. Global media lauded our blueprint, but a late-night call, venomous and anonymous, chilled my spine. Eleanor's echo or a new threat? Clara, by the spring, fireflies dancing, laughed softly. "We thought nature was the enemy." I nodded, the waters mirroring our rebirth. The spring had shown that everything's linked: water, trust, resilience. Ignoring nature as Eleanor did unleashed floods, defying greed as we did restored balance. Yet some wounds lingered, the Thompsons' loss, the Garcias' debts. Ridgeview, now eco-conscious, stood unyielding, its education center teaching vigilance. As stars gleamed, I clutched Emily, the spring's flow a pulse of hope and warning. Its lessons, nature's might, greed's folly, unity's strength were our shield. The spring, my family's soul, had birthed a community that questioned authority and honored the land. But I scanned the horizon, heart racing, knowing our guard must never falter, lest the waters still again.